welcome to Shell Point Today for the weekend of August 19th, 20th, and 21st. I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi.
And I'm Rich Nation. On today's show, we will say goodbye with a tribute to someone special from Resort Services that we all will truly miss. And we'll give you a recap of the top stories from earlier this week.
But first, don't forget that Saturday will be an exciting opportunity to take a trip to Naples and shop at Whole Foods. It's the fun, eco-minded store with natural, organic grocery items, housewares, and other products. You'll enjoy lunch at the Whole Foods buffet with a hot meal prepared with the same philosophy of wholesome, natural ingredients. Court pickups begin on the island Saturday at 9:45 a.m. The cost of the outing is $8 with lunch on your own. Make sure you sign up at either service desk.
On Sunday, you can enjoy the intense 1997 movie Amistad. It is the story about a slave ship in the 1800s that traveled from Cuba to the U.S. During the trip, the tribal leader from Africa leads a mutiny and takes over the ship. They're captured later when they arrive in the U.S. soil, but an abolitionist lawyer tries to free them. Don't miss this film, which plays at 2 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room on Sunday.
And finally, looking ahead to Monday, there will be an opportunity for some Southern cooking in Punta Gorda. Leroy's Southern Kitchen. You'll get smoking hot culinary creativity in relaxed elegance and Southern hospitality. Entrees run from $10 to $30, and the cost of the outing is $8. Court pickups begin on the island at 4 p.m. on Monday, so make sure you've signed up.
Whoever coined the phrase, "all good things must come to an end," must have understood that not everything in life is eternal. Yes, there are some disappointments along the way, sometimes sad goodbyes. But even in the midst of those goodbyes, you're thankful for the good things that happened along the way. Such can be said of Katelyn Van Scoy. Her warm smile and delightful personality will certainly be missed here at SPTV. But so will her professionalism, skill, and attention to detail as program coordinator. Katelyn has left us for her next adventure as she follows her husband a little northward, where he will further his education. And now we'd like to take a moment to look back on some of the fond memories of Katelyn on Shell Point Today, as well as a few laughs. We will miss you, Katelyn.
Coffee today. He's working there. Hello.
Hello and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. This is Bev. Sorry.
Bev Van Scoy.
I was going to say, this is Katelyn Van Scoy.
Who is this?
And that is Bev. That person. If I say, this is the beautiful Bev Chanley, will you laugh?
Yes. I will.
You never let me do it. What day is it?
I'm not sure. Let's listen.
Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Hump day.
It's hump day.
It's hump day. Oh. You can't sell that. Dan, what are you doing here? These look a little small, don't you think?
Too small?
We promise everyone over a pound lobster. Shell Point, now you have the opportunity to get up close and personal with a car such as this. Don't miss this tasteful event. Oh yeah, it's gonna be so far out.
Far out, huh?
Uh-huh. Isn't that like the disco talk?
I think so.
I was born in the 80s, almost the 90s, so I wasn't around then. Hello and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Katelyn Van Scoy and this is Bodacious Bev Chanley, and we're gonna let you know what's going on Thursday.
We're professionals.
We are so professional, it's not even funny.
Please don't shoot! Don't shoot!
What? You're a woman. What are you doing slinking around my camp like this there, woman? You could get yourself shot.
Okay.
Don't look at the camera.
Well, I thought we were done. Well, those are the only kind of card games we play at Shell Point. They're pretty popular. But I'm gonna do it again. They're pretty popular. They're pretty popular. They're pretty popular.
Well, Missy, there, a lot of dangerous creatures.
Christians.
Christians. A lot of dangerous Christians.
Well, it's dangerous. Like you could get attacked by a rattlesnake or a coyote or a timeshare salesman.
By action.
Coyotes?
That's right, ma'am.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Where do we go from there?
Well, that's odd and naughty.
That's awful naughty.
Yeah, that's we won't want to see something happen to a pretty little filly like you out here.
Well, that's mighty neighborly of you. I talk like I'm so excited thinking about that hoedown at Shell Point Ranch on October 27th. Oh, I forgot my line. I can hardly sleep thinking about that hoedown at Shell Point Ranch on October 27th. Oh man, I forgot my line again. I'm so excited, Cowboy Dan, about the hoedown at the Shell Point. Cowboy Dan, I know you can win with that chili. I just know it.
Not anymore. There's none left.
Well, I tell you what, we'll wait till sunup. Then we'll go to the next town, and we'll find a general store, and we'll get all your beans and all your ingredients, and we'll make a new batch, and we'll bring it to the hoedown.
Okay. What's the line?
Are you ready?
I'm always ready, girl. Stu, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Not quite as ready as you are. And now it's time for all of today's happenings, menus, and Village Church connections.
Hi, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Happenings segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chandley,
And I'm Katelyn Van Scoy.
and we're going to tell you the activities we offer Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to start Friday with 8 o'clock men's round robin tennis down at the Woodlands tennis courts. Also at 8 o'clock, we have pickleball at the game courts behind the Resident Activities Center. The stamp ministry will be in the stamp room on the island at 8:15. And we have 8:30 departure for beach day. The court pickups begin on the island at 8:30, the Woodlands 8:40, and 8:50 for Eagles Preserve in the estuary. Our Friday marketplace will be going on in Administration Courtyard from 8:30 until 11:30. And at 9 o'clock, canasta and samba both are played in the Commons at the second floor lobby. We have men's match play tennis at the tennis courts at 10 o'clock. And at 10:15, Inquiring Minds Group will be in the Manatee Room on the island. The Model Yacht Sailing Club will be at the Woodlands Commons Lake at 10:15. 10:30 is the time the Susie Q heads out today. They're going to the St. Charles Yacht Club. Sign up is required for those trips. Moving into the afternoon, we have a 12:30 mixed progressive bridge game at the Woodlands Game Room. And Health Connections class at 12:45, Zumba Fitness. That's down in the Health Club. The advanced table tennis will be in the Tarpon Room on the island down in the tunnel at 1:15. And the quilters will be in the Osprey Room also at 1:15. We have our first Vespers of the day at 1:30 in the Community Room of the Arbor. Bid Euchre will be played in the Sable Room of the Woodlands at 2 o'clock. Now at 2:15, we have water volleyball group at the Life Quest Aquatic Center. And Vespers will be at 2:30 at the King's Crown Community Room. We have ballroom dance group in the Health Club at 3:15. And then at 3:30, we have our final Vespers of the day at the Springs. Game night at the Resident Activity Center starts at 6:45, so head on down to the rack, as we call it, for some good fun. Katelyn, what's going to go on Saturday?
Thank you, Bev. We start at 8 o'clock with pickleball at the game courts. Also at 8 is round robin tennis going on at the Woodlands. At 9:30, both men's and women's doubles tennis will be going on at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. And there is a trip to Whole Foods in Naples going out. The pickups begin on the island at 9:45, 9:55 for Woodlands, and 10:05 for Eagles Preserve and Estuary. You do need to sign up for that trip. At 9:45, duplicate bridge will be played in the Manatee Room. And moving into Saturday afternoon, starts with chess at 1 o'clock in the Library Lounge. And at 1:15, table tennis is available in the Tarpon Room. Our last Saturday activity is basic line dancing in the Health Club. That's at 3:15. Here's Bev to tell you all about our Sunday.
Thank you, Katelyn. At 9 o'clock, we have Christian Life Studies in the Game Room of the Woodlands and also at the Village Church. Our morning worship service will be at the Village Church at 10:15. Also, it's broadcast live on ShellPoint TV, Channel 13. And at 2 o'clock, we have a Sunday matinee entitled Amistad, a 1997 film. That's in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. At 4:15, the Latin-sized dance group will be down in the Health Club. And we have a 6:15 evening service at the Village Church. Well, not only do we hope you have a wonderful weekend, but we also want to say goodbye to our Miss Katelyn. This is her last broadcast for the ShellPoint Happening segment. We've had a lot of fun over the last 2 years. We're going to miss her, but she has a wonderful opportunity up in Jacksonville. So thank you, Katelyn, for your service and time.
Thank you.
Menus for your weekend. In the Island Cafe on Friday, the sandwich special is a chili cheeseburger with fries for $7.75. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are mussels marinara for $13.95 or Colorado lamb chops for $22.95. On Saturday in the Island Cafe, you can have a turkey bacon melt with a cup of soup for $7.75. In the Palm Grill on Saturday, the dinner special is prime rib for $20.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room is open for Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe on Sunday, the sandwich special is a hot dog or a hamburger platter with potato salad, watermelon, and ice cream for $7.75. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey, and with me is Pastor Andy. Andy?
Hi, David.
Good to be back.
Absolutely. Good to be back here as well, having been away for a little bit, but it's great to be back in the saddle.
Yeah, we enjoyed you last Sunday, and so now we're looking at the weekend. Tell us what's happening.
Well, we're back in the Gospel of John, that series entitled Signs of Life that we've been exploring for last couple of months or so. And we're actually going to be looking at that wonderful text in John chapter 1, verse 14, which talks about the incarnation of Jesus. And the title of the message is The Grand Visitation. You know, it's hard for us to understand what an earth-shaking event the incarnation was in the ancient world. The notion that God would show up on the stage of history was just something that I don't think the Jews weren't expecting, but it was a complete shock to the Greeks. They couldn't even imagine something like that taking place. Right. And so this was an incredible event and certainly central to the message of the gospel, and we'll look forward to that wonderful text in John 1:14. Yeah, and then we also have Dr. Ron Bowd will be playing the organ in the morning, a fabulous musician that we have here in our fellowship. And then my wife Jean will actually be singing as well.
You always enjoy that.
Absolutely. She's my favorite soprano.
That's great. And what's on in the evening?
Well, in the evening, we just started a series a couple of weeks ago on Ezekiel. And basically the issue there is we're just going to be going through the book of Ezekiel, but the general idea behind studying that book is how to live as exiles. You know, we're strangers in a strange land, and Ezekiel was a prophet during the exile, speaking to people in exile with a message not only of the reason why they got themselves in that pickle, but then also the great hope, the eschatological end times hope that he gives to people even though they're in the midst of such difficult circumstances. And I think many of us feel like we're a bit on the outs at the present time in our own culture and in the world with so much chaos. And so I think that's a particularly important and timely book to study as we think about what it really means to live as exiles, to live as strangers and aliens in our world today, looking forward to that better country that the author of the book of Hebrews talks about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're going to look actually at the call of Ezekiel. You know, how God basically, what task he gave to Ezekiel to communicate to the people in exile. And I think it'll help us understand as we begin to explore that book why God is speaking in the way he does.
I think many of us have struggled a bit to understand Ezekiel, so we're really looking forward to having it unfolded for us.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in the initial message in Ezekiel, Ezekiel is an interesting book. You know, people complain that there are no pictures in the Bible. Well, but there are pictures in Ezekiel. Ezekiel is all about these visual episodes that I think are quite astonishing. And it also requires us to use our imagination and to put our thinking caps on and get the significance of it. So it's much more like, not so much like reading a history book as it is like reading the Chronicles of Narnia or the Lord of the Rings, you know, with that kind of imagery that comes to us with the deeper meaning underlying it. But very great messages for people who find themselves on the outs of culture.
Very good. I heard someone recently say this is not who we are, looking at the culture and some of the awful things that have been happening around us. And this helps us see who we are and who they are and how we... Excellent. Exiles.
And it's important to recognize that, you know, as believers in Jesus, we're not called to sort of separate ourselves from the culture, but to engage the culture prophetically. And that's why studying a prophetic book like Ezekiel is so important to us.
In the world, but not of it.
That's correct.
Thank you for tuning in once again to Village Church Connections. We look forward to seeing you on the weekend at the Village Church.
And now it's time for the top stories from earlier this week. Doug Potts, Director of Long-Term Care, told us about the next week's presentation and tour of the Larson Pavilion.
Hi, I'm Doug Potts, the Director of Long-Term Care at the Pavilion. I would like to invite you to join us at the Larson Pavilion on August 23rd at 2 o'clock for an ice cream social. It is a great opportunity to meet our amazing team and learn about the many services available to you at the Pavilion. There will be a short presentation discussing our rehabilitation unit, long-term care services, and memory unit, as well as the hospice program. We will be offering a tour of the rehab center, including our aqua therapy pool and occupational therapy suite. Please join us at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, August 23rd, and meet our Pavilion team while enjoying a dish of Love Boat ice cream. Space is limited, so please RSVP to Randa at 415-5432. Hope to see you there.
Last month, construction began on a northbound cart path on Shell Point Boulevard. But before getting out and enjoying the new route between the Woodlands and the island, Paul Yakovich, Director of Facility Operations, spoke to us about a few guidelines that will make travel on the path safer for all of us.
Well, hello, Shell Point. We're out here on a beautiful day, and I'm along Shell Point Boulevard here with our Director of Facility Operations, Paul Yakovich. And we're going to talk a little bit about the brand new paved path that's along the east side of Shell Point Boulevard, recently completed. So, Paul, this is a great little thing we've got accomplished here. Tell us about how it came to be and how we're going to use it.
Certainly, no, and it really is a wonderful addition to the Shell Point property. And to me, it's a reflection of many issues that makes Shell Point such a wonderful place, not only to live, but to work as well. One of the things I like to point out is a reminder to everybody that this is county property. This isn't something that Shell Point could arbitrarily say, let's put in a path. It's a result of a lot of negotiation and I might add cooperation between Shell Point, project development in particular, and the county. Again, we enjoy a really close working relationship with the county, and this is sort of the manifestation of that association.
Right.
But the driving factor, as I mentioned earlier, is safety. What this does, it essentially decreases or cuts the amount of traffic that existed on the west side in half. The other aspect of that is that, and the main driving safety factor is that it cuts the amount of traffic that crosses Shell Point Boulevard.
And this is a busy intersection here.
That's correct, at the Woodlands Gate.
Absolutely. So
in half as well.
So cutting off the necessity of crossing back and forth so much is a huge
major safety factor. The other point that I'd like to make is that it isn't a golf cart path as it's been referred to, but it's a multi-use path because not only do pedestrians use it, but golf carts use it, our contractors use it, bicyclists will use it. And then we've come back to the aspect that it's a county road. We're going to have Palm Acres folks using it. We're going to have people from off, just whether they're jogging or bicycling, guests coming and use it. So we have to recognize the fact that it is a county property and that our amount of influence on how it's used is limited. But what we have asked is everybody to read and be associated with the program highlight that went out last week that essentially says the new path is going to accommodate all the traffic going north to the island, and the existing path that coming off the island to point south be used for that kind of traffic. So there has been some comment about our suggestion that pedestrians walk with the flow of traffic. Now, and traditionally, when you're walking on a roadway, it's always been suggested that you walk against the flow of traffic so you can see things coming. However, we feel the fact that by following the flow of traffic by pedestrians, that again cuts down the amount of cross traffic across Shell Point Boulevard, which in our estimation is the greater risk.
The bigger safety factor.
One of the things that we experience it on cart paths all over Shell Point, is you're going to come up behind a pedestrian. I always use it as a way to sort of break the ice, because I'll let them know, because golf carts are quiet. I'll let them know I'm there by a greeting of the day. And that usually opens up a conversation, rather than sneaking up on them and startling them, you know. But the one thing that we're emphasizing across the board to residents and contractors, employees alike, is pedestrians have the right of way. Pedestrians have the right of way, and if everybody follows that, we feel there won't be any issue with pedestrians walking with the flow of the golf cart traffic.
Now, speaking of flow, this now we do have the original path goes all the way south to the golf course entrance and the estuary entrance, but this new one starts at the Woodlands.
Correct.
So we've got this issue where we've got two-way traffic south of the Woodlands on the original path, and then we've got to coordinate how that transition takes place. And I know there's a procedure here that's trying to emphasize safety, maximize safety when transiting northbound and getting onto the new path. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Correct, an excellent point. There are two things that we'd like residents and of course our staff to follow. When coming from the estuary, Eagles Preserve, at all, as much as possible, to use, if I could use the term, the back way. To come in through the east end, the back end of the Woodlands, across the Slough Bridge, and exit out on the Woodsong Lane here. If people are coming down from the Springs, or just out of necessity, coming northbound on the old path, it's going to require them to cross Shell Point Boulevard to get on the new path.
And that can be tricky here at this intersection.
You bet. Very, very busy. And again, this is a focus of our, the aspect of it, of a safety aspect, because it is so busy here. So we're asking all the traffic, cart traffic, to cross safely, looking both ways and exercising all those common sense things that we do. And not to cross in front of the gatehouse, but to proceed back through the gatehouse, back to the turnaround behind the gatehouse, and then come back out and enter onto the car pathway and proceed north to the island.
It's a little bit extra time, but a great increase in safety.
You bet. It's
to not
worth
be
it.
mixing it up. There could be a lot of confusion here.
Exactly.
Somebody might not know exactly what's going on, and then you're setting yourself up for trouble.
Exactly. But in the end, and this is all new, from the feedback that I've received from the majority of residents and staff, I might add, has been very favorable. I made a joking comment to Steve Morton, he's our Mr. Green Jeans, our landscaping guy today, that he's got a little bit more grass to cut. But whatever the effort is that we all make to the maintenance and the use and the safe application of yielding the right of way and just following common courtesy, this far outweighs as a great advantage to our Shell Point community.
And it's a great convenience to not have to be jumping out of each other's way constantly like
You
we've
bet.
been doing for years
You
over
bet.
here. So
You bet.
we're all going to enjoy that a lot. So, well, congratulations on another well-done project. And Shell Point, hope you'll enjoy this wonderful new amenity of Shell Point, the new
Be
app.
safe.
Be safe.
Also this week, we told you about the Chronic Care Management Program. Mary Kay sat down with Carol Clark, Director of Outpatient Services, to find out more about this service being offered and how you may be able to benefit from it.
A few weeks ago, all residents received a letter via campus mail from Shell Point Health System about the Chronic Care Management Program. I'm here today with Carol Clark, Director of Outpatient Services at the J. Howard Wood Medical Center at Shell Point, to learn more about this service and how it can benefit you. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you, Mary.
Great. Well, I'm glad to have you here today to tell us a little bit more about what is Medicare's Chronic Care Management Program and how can it benefit our Shell Point residents?
Well, it's a long story, but the short end of the long story is that for the last 4 to 5 years, Medicare has actually been reducing payment to primary care physician group practices by 2% a year. So, like many people in our country, we've been trying to do more with less. And finally, about January of 2015, Medicare decided, the real expensive part of our program is hospitalizations and rehospitalizations. So if we could just have the people in primary care work a little harder at keeping people out of the hospital,
of course,
that would be worth a little reward. Well, we looked at it, and as we do sometimes, we watch things before we just jump in. And the longer it went on over the last year, the more I sort of decided, this is really money on the table that we could be having because the Shell Point standard already is to take such good care of residents that we keep them out of the hospital. But if there's a little bit of reimbursement we could have for the hard work that we already do, maybe we should look into how we do that.
Mm-hmm. So with the extra work that we're doing in caring for our residents, it's part of chronic care management.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about some of the chronic conditions or chronic illnesses that residents here at Shell Point might have that qualify for this Medicare service.
Well, actually, it's just any number of chronic conditions, and it's difficult in this age group to find someone who does not have a chronic illness, although we do have some really healthy folks who don't. But the typical chronic illnesses are high blood pressure, diabetes, osteoporosis, Parkinson's disease, and gastric reflux, kidney disease, swelling of the legs, and anemia, and memory impairment or depression.
And I understand regardless of whether a resident is on medication for any of these conditions, there still would be a care plan developed that would, in conjunction with your clinicians there at the medical center, help the residents manage those symptoms?
Yes, and sometimes it's just a matter of having blood work done at a certain interval, or if it's memory impairment or depression, it's having a check from behavioral health at a certain interval, or it might even be cooperation from resident services case management, where they simply check on a person who's struggling but doesn't need to really be in the physician's office.
So as a resident, what steps do I need to take to A, sign up for the service, and B, continue to participate with your staff at the medical center to be able to qualify for this chronic care management program?
Well, the option is really open. Residents could not sign the paper, and we would not change anything we're doing. But if they sign the paper, it allows Medicare to give us that little bit of reimbursement for the work that we do. But to be honest with you, we hope that we'll always do things a little bit better, that we'll continue to look for process improvements, regardless of whether we receive a little reimbursement or not. But it just makes it a little easier when you have to replace staff or replace equipment, if there's just a little more to work with. So we're just trying to take an opportunity of what is rightfully ours.
Yep. And this paper that you're referring to would be the application form that registers a resident for this chronic care management program, correct?
Yes.
And then they would simply complete the document, sign it really, select the specific clinician that they prefer to work with at the Shell Point Medical Center, although all of the clinicians are available for their services. But there's also another individual that they'll be working with closely to document all of this work that we're doing?
Yes. As you might expect, we're not going to be able to accept funds unless we can verify.
Correct.
So the person that probably all the residents have met at some point or at least talked with on the phone is Armando Faith. And Armando has many, many skills, but one of his really valuable skills is in data processing and designing spreadsheets. So I've asked him to come up with a monitoring method so that we can actually keep a good record for the minutes that we spend, so that we have to document 20 minutes per month for the people that we'll accept funds for.
Okay.
So he'll be helping us keep track of that, and he'll also be meeting with folks once they have a service from the physician, and perhaps they need transportation to complete that referral. Armando will take them into a room and help them get transportation to a consultant or get the appointment. Or he might just sit with someone who's a little bit confused after getting out of the hospital with, what is this paper, what is that paper? So he'll kind of be handling the nuts and bolts of the program under my direction.
Right. So that's wonderful. It seems like there's lots of resources there at the medical center that will help our residents who do have these chronic conditions and are looking for an ongoing way of managing them. So just to reiterate again, there's no obligation, as I understand it, for Shell Point residents, but it has very many benefits. And among them, I heard you say, reducing hospitalizations possibly. What other benefits would you say are things that would help our residents in making this decision about using the chronic care management program?
Well, I know a lot of residents, sometimes they just feel better if they can stop by and have their blood pressure checked. Or maybe they're on a weight loss or a weight gain plan of care, and they'd like to just come in and use our scales. We try to accommodate all those requests, and this would allow us to actually take credit for that, what we're doing, and they'll be able to have a close relationship with Armando, and he'll be able to pull the providers in when they're needed. There's another advantage that's a little more obscure, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, and that is the hospital systems are under the same scrutiny that we are right now to reduce hospitalizations and rehospitalizations. And right now, Shell Point enjoys a very low percentage of people who go back to the hospital for the same problem they were discharged with.
That's good news.
But if we don't pay attention to hospitalization and rehospitalization, hospitals can actually start declaring they are less willing to work with an organization who doesn't do a good job of keeping people out of the hospital. So in that way, we're trying to do our part of helping Lee Memorial continue to do their part. And right now we're enjoying a very low percentage, but we want to keep that going. So we're actually helping the pavilion as well by taking good care of people and keeping them from having to go back or to go at all.
Right. Now, you mentioned other healthcare providers and certainly other clinicians are specialists that our residents might see for certain kinds of chronic conditions. What other options would residents have if they were considering the chronic care management program through Medicare?
Well, in fact, there are other specialists who would like to be in this position as the primary care person receiving these funds. The typical scenario for that is probably pulmonology, where people with chronic lung diseases often see the pulmonologist every other month or so. Well, we're not in competition for those funds, but only one doctor can take them. So if they're already signed up with another provider, we respect that, and we won't try to sign anyone up who's already obligated that way.
Right. But on the other hand, if they prefer to consider Shell Point Medical Center as their medical home, so to speak, where they will be seeing our clinicians on a variety of medical issues, not just a particular specialist, then that would be the way that they should consider signing up for the chronic care program here through Shell Point.
Yes, and in order to do that, they would need to fill out a stop service for wherever they're signed up.
Okay.
And those documents are readily available.
Okay, very good, very helpful. Now, I think one thing we didn't cover is the cost for the program. Can you explain a little bit, how does this affect Medicare billing or costs for residents in their Medicare services?
Okay. The reimbursement to the practice is $42 and some change per month for any month that we document 20 minutes or more of service towards keeping people out of the hospital. So we will be keeping a log, and any 30-day period that we're able to receive that money, we will tell Medicare that this is what we did. They'll be looking at our records. But it will not come across as a copay or an addition to the resident's bill in any way.
Oh, okay. So this is just an added service that's part of their being a Medicare beneficiary.
Yes.
And it incentivizes the healthcare providers to do their best work to educate and keep on top of the medical conditions of their patients. Okay, very good. Now, one last comment, I suppose, and if you have an opportunity to share anything new with the residents, what would you say to any of them considering this service is whether this is a good option or how else they should consider managing their health care issues?
Signing up for the chronic care management program does not really have a downside. If you sign up, you're going to receive good care. If you don't sign up, you're going to receive good care. But if you sign up, we're going to be able to do more with a little more.
That makes sense. Thank you very much, Carol. I appreciate you talking with us about this chronic care management program today, offered through the Shell Point Medical Center to all residents. So remember, if you wish to sign up, just complete the form that was mailed to you and return it to the medical center. But if you have further questions, you can always talk to somebody at the medical center, 454-2146. during your next clinician visit at the office. I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi for Shell Point Today. This week, Ruth Duber joined David Lee in his kitchen with a special guest, Doug Hayes, a very talented sculptor who's also quite a cook. They showed us how to use a modern cooking appliance called a sous vide.
Hello, this is What's Cooking at Shell Point, and I'm Ruth Duber.
And I'm David Lee.
And we have a very special show today. I've been doing the show for 10 years, and it's amazing the changes that have occurred, not only in what we eat, but how we handle food. And I think it's always fun, even though we don't use it, it's fun to watch and see some of the new things that are around. So David, why don't you introduce your guest?
I'd be glad to. You may remember Doug. Doug Hayes was the sculptor who did Friendship Point, the herons that Maggie Tribby's, wonderful sculptures for you. And when I got to meet him, we got talking, and we both have, like Ruth, we have a love for cooking.
It's a hobby of ours.
Yeah, more than a hobby. But at any rate, Doug does some unique things that I have never done before, and I'm really excited to share it with all our friends here at Shell Point. So Doug, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, it's been fun.
So we're going to do a steak a very unique way. You want to tell us what you're going to do today?
Yeah, we're going to do a steak using a sous vide technique, which is basically a water bath with a very precisely controlled temperature so that we can put the steak in and we can get it to the exact temperature that we want. And then we can take it out and either refrigerate it or go ahead and throw it in a skillet and just get a nice sear on it. So this is the sous vide circulator. It just works in a regular pan. It clips onto the side. And then you have a digital readout on the top which tells you the temperature of the water, where the temperature is, and also what temperature you want. So I'm going to take it up to 129, which is on the high side of a rare steak.
What's the next step here for us, Doug?
Well, the next step, the water in the circulator doesn't actually touch the food, right? So what we need to do is we need to put what we're going to cook into a plastic bag,
Okay.
whether it's steak, chicken, what have you. This is just a simple way.
It is, just a plain
it's just
Ziploc bag.
Just a
Yeah.
Ziploc bag, a freezer bag. The freezer bags are nice because they're nice and heavy. Because you don't want any water to get in, because obviously it's just going
That's
to
right,
water
I
it
would
down,
too.
right? So we want a nice high quality freezer bag. And this is a nice ribeye that we picked up.
It happens to be my favorite, Ruth.
Is
So
it?
if we're going to
Okay.
cook a steak, we might as well cook the one I like
That's
the best.
right.
So we just...
And we don't even season it.
You season it after the sous vide. The water circulation, what that does, it just brings your steak up to that finished temperature.
I see.
And that's
Okay.
that's the trick to it. Then we treat it just like a regular steak, but we don't have to worry about getting it to the exact temperature in the skillet.
All right.
So I leave the top of the bag open, right, at first, and then we're going to take it over and set it in the water. The water is like, I think it's got like, it's at 129, so you can kind of put your fingers in it and it's not going to burn you. So it's warm. It's warm. So the bag, you want to get the air out, so I just put it in and just kind of sidle it back and forth a little bit until the steak is all the way down in there, and you can see that you have a good seal around it. And then we'll seal the top. And what I like to do, and this is something that I learned by accident, now we're set, we've got our temperature, we don't have to do anything. Once we get it like about an hour, then we either put it in the refrigerator or cook it. The easy part, I mean, even though it does take a long time for it to come up to temperature, once you're done, right, you can put them in the fridge. So if you're having a dinner party and you can cook everybody's steak exactly the way it needs to be, throw them in the fridge, right in the baggie, and then 15 minutes before you're ready, you can
Makes
just sear them up.
much easier.
Yeah,
That's right.
so it does
you got
make it
right.
easy.
Well, I'm assuming this is the one that you had in the refrigerator.
Right, this is one that we cooked last night, and it's been in the refrigerator. So even though it's cold, it's going to be seared and then brought up
Okay.
to a good temperature that that's palatable. But we don't have to worry about getting it to the temperature for medium
Okay,
rare or rare,
alrighty,
because
okay.
this one's already cooked medium
All
rare.
right. But now you season it, right?
Now we season it, and seasoning a steak is a very personal thing. Everybody likes their own different kinds of spices. So we put together, this is a spice rub. It doesn't have the salt and pepper in it, but we just use some things that are on hand. A little bit of basil, just equal parts of each. A little bit of cumin, which is very aromatic, and a little bit of paprika, which helps us when we put it in the pan to get
that would give the color.
yeah, and some crunch, some texture from a crust, and then a little bit of turmeric. So these are just personal for me, and then of course salt and pepper. And with a steak, if it's a good cut of steak, really just a little bit of salt and pepper is all you need.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, and maybe a little butter to finish.
Finishing with butter.
You and Julia Child.
A little garlic butter to
Yes.
finish it off.
I agree, and some people would rather use olive oil, which olive oil is really good for high temperature cooking. Personally, I use butter.
I do too.
What we'll do is just a little bit of our spice rub right here. I just go by what I feel like, right? So we'll do that. Okay, and a little bit of salt, not too much. And pepper, of course, lots of pepper.
You can't have enough pepper on a good steak.
Lots of pepper. Okay, and then we'd just pat that down, get it right in there, and then we'd flip it over and do the other side exactly the same. Okay, so now we're gonna put this in. We've got the oil up to heat. It's not quite smoking, but there's enough for it to start sizzling. And so we just let that sizzle for a few minutes.
Notice, what would you say, a couple tablespoons of oil that you put in there?
Yeah, you do want, you know, not quite a quarter of an inch covering the bottom of the pan.
Okay.
So when we sear in cast iron, of course, we're not relying on the oil to fry it. But this one, since we are doing it at a lower temperature, we really need a lot of oil in there to cook and get a nice crunchy crust for us. Okay, so now we're just going to turn this over and see we got a nice
beautiful
crust on it. And a big part of getting that is the spice rub. And this is what I use. It's just a little piece of stainless wire. I put it in the steak, pull it out, touch it to your lips, and you can feel that it's still cold. You want to try that? So we put it in there, okay, and just pull it out and gently touch it to your lower lip. Right?
It's still a little cool.
Still cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got this up to temperature. I'm just going to pull it out, place it on the plate. Let's see what this other side looks like. See, the other side doesn't have a nice, as good of a sear as this one, so we're going to plate it this side up. And also with the olive oil, with the turmeric, you know, that color, that golden color.
That's picture perfect.
Can I add a little something to this?
Oh, of course.
Since Ruth is going to eat this for lunch, let's add the butter. Voila. How's that?
Thank you. Thank you, David. That looks so beautiful. I can't wait to taste it.
Doug, thank you so very much. And if you're lucky, we'll save a little, Ruth and I'll save a little bit for you here. But the nice thing about this is you don't have to let it rest or anything. And
oh, really?
yeah, because
okay.
it's altogether different. So we cut it back to 100 degrees, which is where you want to eat. So I always like to cut my steaks and think about plating. And this one happens to be medium rare because that's the way Doug likes it. Now, kind of two of the ways Margie and I like to eat steaks are with tomatoes and mozzarella and with wild rice and asparagus. Okay? So, Ruth, you know we have to decorate the plates.
Absolutely.
So you can't have tomato and mozzarella without some basil on it. And we'll put some basil around this one just to decorate. And Doug brought this wonderful, he loves this wonderful Italian olive oil that we can get at Publix.
Yes.
And put a little of that. And, on the steak too.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And to finish that one off, we'll just kind of put this right here. So there's one. And now with this one, I'm just going to sprinkle some parsley on it. And once again, a little olive oil. And finish that off with a little decoration. You think we can have this for lunch, Ruth?
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Really fascinating process, and I thank you so much for bringing that to us here at Shell Point.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And thanks for the wonderful sculpture that gives
I
us
was
so
gonna
much
say,
peace and pleasure.
my goodness,
too.
so much talent in one gentleman
Yeah.
here.
So, well, thank you for inviting me. This has been a lot of fun, and I always enjoy visiting here.
All right. Okay.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye now.
Joy Ellen Ryan of Junonia will be the speaker at next week's Library Book Talk. She'll be reviewing 3 interesting nonfiction titles. Let's hear from Joy Ellen once more.
Hello folks, we're here with a preview of an upcoming library book talk, and we have in the studio with us Joellen Ryan. She's going to be presenting her talk on Tuesday the 23rd. And Joellen, I understand this is not the first book you've read by this author, whose name is Susan Casey, and in fact you've had quite a reading adventure coming to this book. Tell us about that.
Well, sometimes when you find an author that you find is exceptional in her writing, you read whatever they write, whether you like the subject or not.
Sure.
And this is the case with Susan Casey. And I read The Devil's Teeth, and it's about the great white sharks. And I was quite fascinated with her writing and amazed that the abundance of great white sharks are within 20 miles of the Golden Gate Bridge. And when she picks a subject, she goes into it completely. In fact, I say that she goes where angels fear to tread, because when she wanted to write about the great white sharks, she went to this island that is really, she describes it like being on another planet. And she actually swam with the sharks, and she spent time with them. And so it became very interesting. And yes, she's courageous, and she's an outstanding writer. So that was the first book I read, and it was a New York Times bestseller. The second book I read by her, and I had no interest in the ocean and rogue waves and 100-foot waves and the things that people talk about but have never proven until recently, and the surfers that ride those waves and challenge those waves. But once I started reading the book, it was a page turner, and I just kept reading until I had completed the book.
So, the sum total of all of these books you read first, obviously about science and animal intelligence and communication, kind of enhanced your appreciation of this book. So tell us a little bit about this one, the featured one for your talk. Give us a preview, maybe a couple tidbits, what we can look forward to.
Well, there's a lot of fascinating things about dolphins and things we did not know, or certainly I did not know. Number one is orca whales. They're called the killer whale. Are not whales, nor are they killers. They're just huge, mammoth, 25-foot dolphins. And I had an experience one time with them when I was traveling in Chile on a ship going up to see the glacier and the icebergs calve. And this pod of several dozen orcas came right towards the boat, and it looked like they were on a suicide course. And just as you thought they were going to smash into the boat, they just parted, flipped their tails, and went on their way and divided equally on either side of the ship.
Interesting.
So I thought that was interesting. In walking the perimeter of Shell Point, the dolphins that we see here are bottlenose dolphins. And anyone that observes them knows about their sociability and their interaction. And sometimes I think they're actually laughing at us and looking at us like we're in the zoo and they're looking at us. And I had a friend that was visiting, and we were down by Genonia, and she was kind of dawdling along, and I turned around to look at her just as a dolphin came up and out of his blowhole snorted, and she jumped and squealed. And I laughed, and she said, "Did you see that?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "He did it deliberately." And she said, "Oh, no, no." I said, "I think he did." And I believe he did, because I said, "Why don't you just watch a minute, see this other couple coming? We'll see what happens." And as soon as they got to about the precise place that she had been, he came up again and startled them. And she said, Well, maybe you're right. The joke's on us.
How about that? Well, interesting. Well, it looks like this book is sounds like a fascinating insight into dolphin intelligence, and I take it the voices, since it's talking about voices, I'm assuming there's something in here about communication, dolphin communication?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not really going to get into that, but their sonar and their ways of communicating is far superior than, I mean, we can go to the moon. We have satellites. We have internet. We have all of this. And yet the Navy and no one has been able to any way replicate what the dolphins are able to do.
The sophistication of their sonar, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And they have like X-ray vision. Even if they're blindfolded, they can perceive and relate back the difference between a piece of tin and copper. Some scientists also believe that they're able to determine human illnesses and when a woman is pregnant. And like I said, it's documented in there that they have X-ray vision.
Yes.
Even if they're blindfolded, it's through the sonar.
Well, it sounds fascinating. So if you'd like to know more about what's in this tantalizingly interesting book, you need to come out and listen to Joy Ellen give her talk. It'll be Tuesday, the 23rd. And, oh, if you come, there's some bonuses. Tell us about those.
There'll be 2 bonuses. One is we have yummy desserts and refreshments. And the second bonus is I got a phone call 2 weeks ago from a granddaughter, this one, and said, Grandma, I'm on vacation break. Can I come visit? And I said, yes. And an hour later, 2 others called and said, I hear Danielle's coming to visit. Can we come? And I said, yes. And within the next hour, 3 more called. So 6 of them are going to be coming and will be at the book talk. And on the back, here's a picture of some of them. And this was done by the photo club when they did a portrait. And after they did the portrait, I put this book together on Danielle, who will be visiting. And it says, Who am I? Because from the genealogy that we also have here at Shell Point, I was able to put this book back and give her some history of the family. So do come. It'll be enjoyable, and I'll be glad to see you.
That's Tuesday, the 23rd.
And that will bring this weekend edition of Shell Point Today to a close for August 19th, 20th, and 21st. I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi.
And I'm Rich Nation. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again here on Monday.